Maybe you're still working. Anybody? So I just got a few. Man, do I have to still working now? Anybody? Just Faith? So Faith, you need to tell me when you're done. Within reason. Done? Fabulous. All right, how's your favorite sport? All right, those of you who are absent yesterday, you guys used the last grade with the puzzles, so at some point y'all will step, so we'll make that up. Those are graded in the grade book, but I won't hand those back for a while yet. Sooner Caleb and Alejandro make it up, the sooner it gets handed back. Yeah.
I just don't know, like, whether.
So what now?
And you said it means most reactive, but it gives you like, a non-metal and a metal.
You pick metal. Yeah, because it's a reactive metal, so, or most metallic, so it would be a
So
metallic.
metallic is
Metal.
most reactive.
Metal.
Okay, good.
I'm tired of you.
I was thinking about
Of course, if it works like last semester, Chris won't make anything up, so you won't get it back ever.
Did it make it?
I don't think he made anything up for it was out. Am I wrong about that? Chris, did you make up anything from when you were out sick? Huh? No. I'm talking about last semester, last quarter. No, I didn't think so. So it's conceivable that y'all won't ever get those back. Because the lab yesterday,
You
called
should
Chris
just give
missed
it
it.
back and tell him he can't make it up anymore. Oh, yeah.
Right.
So, you know, if he doesn't ever make it back, I make it up, I will never hand it back. Alright, let's talk about what we were doing yesterday. And y'all will have a quiz on this tomorrow, by the way, just so you know. But then you won't have a quiz until we have finished the Lewis structures, the geometry, and the polarity. So my best guess is Tuesday. Alright, and it's looking like about Friday for the test. Alright, which will be good. That way you don't have any homework over prom weekend.
Oh my gosh, Friday, second day?
Probably.
Yeah.
Next Friday.
You gotta be here half a day to get prom tickets anyway.
Oh, next Friday. Okay, I thought you meant this Friday. I was gonna say, Lord.
No. Not tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, you do have to be here.
You gotta be here half a day to get your prom tickets anyway.
What counts as a half a day?
But
Nice.
You get that.
You get them at lunch. Alright, so. Alright, so metallic bonds. And if we can't do it Friday, it'll have to be on Tuesday because the Monday after prom is a club day. And so we only have like an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 5 minutes of class. Now, we talked about ionic and covalent bonds yesterday. We reviewed that. We practiced it in the opening. So, metallic bond is the only one we haven't talked about other than I gave you a really weird definition back in, I don't know, week 3 of the semester. So, here's the definition that I gave you back in week 3 again, since no one remembers what that was. So, a metallic bond is a bond where an electron is donated to a region in space. We often refer to this as the electron C model. All right? And we call it that because the electrons are not stuck on any one atom or with any one nucleus. So if I draw an ugly picture, because I can't draw. So I draw like a cross section of a metal. And let's just say my little pluses represent the nucleus. Okay, a whole bunch of ugly nuclei. And then I draw some electrons. All right, what the electron C model means is these electrons are not stuck on those nuclei. They can move, okay? They can go wherever they want to go in the metal, okay? They can move this way, they can move that way, they can move that way. They are moving or mobile electrons, okay? The electrons are moving or mobile. Now, this will be a big deal next week when we talk about the properties that metals have versus the properties that ionic and covalent compounds have. Because metal electrons are able to move, they're able to conduct electricity, for example, okay? Ionic and covalent compounds cannot conduct electricity because their electrons can't move. But ionic compounds, their electrons move. They can carry a current from one place to another. All right? That makes them unique. Now, how can we tell if we have a metallic bond? Now, a metallic bond can be any one metal or it can be a combination of metals. So the example I gave in the opening was iron. But to give you one that's a little easier to understand, most of us have aluminum foil at home in the cabinet or the drawer, right? Well, aluminum foil is only made of what? Aluminum. It's millions of aluminum atoms. So it's just one metal. It's just aluminum. We don't write that as aluminum, aluminum, aluminum. We write it as what? We write it as Al. It's aluminum. Okay? So it doesn't have to be multiple aluminums to be a metal. It's just aluminum. All right? Now, sometimes it's a combination of metals. For example, have any of you heard of brass? Okay? Brass is an alloy. It's a mixture of metals. And there are others that we could talk about. We could talk about sterling silver. We could talk about bronze. There are lots of different alloys we could talk about. They're mixtures of metals. But it could be any singular metal or it could be a combination of metals. For the most part, you guys are going to see one metal, okay? Because the state's not going to expect you to recognize some complex formula for a mix of metals. Now, they might expect you to know something obvious like brass or sterling silver, all right, something you've heard of before. But for the most part, it's going to be an element off the periodic table. Now, I want you to write that down. Don't write real small because we're going to come back to the same list in a minute. I want you to use your periodic table, and I want you to tell me the bond type for all of these, and I want to put one in here because we're going to do something with it.
Did you mean type of bond using the periodic table?
Yep. Did I ever say something wrong? Yeah, I didn't put bond in there. All right. And in a minute, we're going to do it a different way because there's some that you're going to predict wrong. Yep.
That shit not 18. It's individual. That's tough. Oh.
And we're gonna come back and use this same list in a few minutes, so we're gonna do it twice. Unless you want me to have your phone, turn it off. I think I might be with Natalie, I don't feel too peaceful.
I don't think so.
Oh, my pants will fall down yesterday, fourth period. I think I had 6 phones in my pockets.
Here's what you just have press here.
I didn't?
Yeah.
Oh, must have got distracted by the phone.
Your blood pressure's too high.
Probably is. I need to eat more peas.
No, don't eat more peas, please.
Don't eat no nasty.
Unless they're in a pot, cooked.
Unless they're about good.
Unless they're in the trash.
You know, I could eat fourth period off of those. They're forever trying to steal my peas.
Cook your peas.
does anybody want them?
Cook.
Fourth period's forever trying to steal it.
Well, they weird. They need help.
Alright, so you found me the bond types?
No.
Why are you just sitting there then? There were 2 parts to that.
Oh, you're distracting us.
Now tell me the types.
Sit down. So you're on focus.
I can't stand and you tell me bond types?
No.
You were distracting. Well, let's sit there. Moving.
That was my favorite.
Okay, find the bond type.
Relax.
No, just already put iron filings all over that one. I don't sit there.
Why?
I probably ought to tell Rex to sit in the blue today.
Oh, no, let us sit there.
Is this for us?
That's my favorite.
Yes, it's for you to keep here. You put your name on it and everything. Just don't write other stuff on it.
No.
Because you get to use it on the quiz and the test unless you write on it with other notes, just your name.
Oh, so you're not giving us another one?
Huh?
You're not giving us another one? Like the quiz?
No, you get to use that one unless you write notes on it.
Well, you're on.
Probably can. Let's see.
Miss Wall,
What?
your cellular device. Put it away.
You told me to sit still while you did your stuff.
I know, put your phone away.
I see your dad's moving.
Bro, if I gotta sit still, you gotta sit still.
Oh.
Miss Ball, are you going
Going where?
to the band thinking on Saturday?
No.
Y'all, I need some food.
Why do you have to make that face?
Miss Wall, that's
I'm pretty
unnecessary.
tired of you guys. It's not supporting the chorus, but you guys won't support the band.
I don't
Oh
even
my
support
God.
the word.
Band is whack.
Stuff for that.
Where's the band hanging out? Is it here?
It's not always.
Where is that?
Where is it at, babe?
You pay for it. That's the beginning of the college. Everybody goes.
She's not telling me it's close by.
No, it's not.
Okay, that's my fault. I already have to spend all day Sunday at North Lincoln High School.
Really not a
Damn.
Yes.
Are you gonna be at the beach too?
That'll be the following week.
Oh,
That'll
dang.
Where you gonna be at the beach?
be next week.
Oh, Miss Wall, I'm about to come with you, girl.
I'm gonna be stuck in an auditorium half a day Saturday and all day Sunday.
Well,
You'll
don't
be
have
in the
to stuff.
auditorium. I'll be at the beach. I'll pick you up.
Okay.
I can drive. I got my license, but I can still
I think
drive.
I get a half a day at the beach. The rest of the time I'm in an auditorium.
Okay, I'll be at the beach the whole day. You be in the ocean.
Okay.
You take the
I
notes.
feel the love.
I take them up.
So what kind of bond is NaCl? Okay. What kind of bond is PCl5? Alright. I'm feeling some good vibes with us getting these right.
You feel me?
Okay, what kind of CaI2? Alright, HF. Alright, CH4. Cl2. And Mn. Fabulous. Alright. Now, not all of these are correct. And because there's another way to find bond type.
No, we don't care. So you think we're gonna let down for everything?
Now, a more definitive alternative way to find bond type is to use electronegativity.
So wait, those were wrong?
No,
All of them were wrong?
no,
But you said it was.
no. I said a couple were wrong. It might only be one. I have to subtract to find the answer.
Close enough.
Now, I have no idea out on the exam if you'll be asked one question about this or 0 questions about this. So if they just ask bond type and they don't give you anything, you will do what you just did. You'll use the periodic table, look to see if it's a metal or a non-metal, and compare and go ionic or covalent. However, if they give you electronegativities, you're going to have to use the new skill we're about to learn. All right?
That's whack.
I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. So, how are we going to use electronegativity to determine bond type? Well, there's a scale. All right, from 0 to 4. It's a number line. Anything that falls between 0 and 0.3 means it's a non-polar covalent bond. Yes, I'm going to tell you what non-polar means in a second.
Now that's too much. They have to put all the words together.
Anything from 0.3 to 1.7 means we're a polar covalent bond.
Why is it going this way instead of this way?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So it's always
We need
wrong.
to fix that.
Doesn't matter. You can flip it the other way if it makes you feel better.
What psycho put it that way in the first place?
I don't know.
Well, we can
I did not make it. I don't know. If you want to write it the other way because it makes you feel better to write it the other way, go right ahead. And then 1.7 to 4 is on.
Can we just like fast forward to like graduation of
Yes.
2020? Because this is like.
I really better not get a car because I would never be in school.
I'm late every day, but I only got one tomorrow. I'm supposed to have like 20.
That would be okay with me. We could fast forward to that date because at that point, I would literally be showing up to work knowing I could retire at any moment.
That's why we don't
Why would
care.
you do that? Why would you do that? Yeah.
You already graduated.
It's
Good
crazy.
enough.
One wrong thing.
Right.
It would be like coming to work that way, yes.
I gotta work like that even though I know
Crazy,
it.
make you mad.
Pick up my purse, my computer, and stroll out the door. See ya. It's nice working for you.
And that's just how it be sometimes.
Was it really loud?
Right.
Look at it.
I'd like to work for a while under those conditions.
Under the what? I can do whatever I want to do.
No, under the, no, I don't want to stay anymore. I'm out of here.
Sometimes I just be calling out just.
You're gonna be like, we can't afford to replace you.
They can always replace you. No
Never be the same.
one is irreplaceable, I promise you.
That's
wrong.
Alright,
I promise you. No one is irreplaceable.
I didn't say no place. Well, I almost said hard to replace. I know about all that now. In some workplaces, there are some people that's irreplaceable. Oh, no.
So, how are we going to find bond type? We're going to subtract the electronegativity, and it will just be the positive difference. So it's like, what do we call that in math class?
Absolute value.
Very good. Absolute values. Okay? We're not looking at the subscripts. We don't care if they have a subscript. Okay? So if it says CO2, are we going to use the 2? No. We're going to take the electronegativity. We're going to subtract as if it's an absolute value. We're going to find the difference, and we're going to see where it falls on the line. Now, what's the only bond type that is not on that scale? Metallic. So if you recognize that it's a metallic bond, you cannot use that scale. Okay? Because are we going to subtract anything that's a metallic bond?
No.
No. So if you look up a metal on your electronegativities, for example, let's just say nickel. We look up nickel, and it says 1.8. Do you have anybody to subtract nickel with?
No.
No. But if you don't remember that a metallic bond is metallic, and you just look up Ni, and you go, it's 1.8, and you don't have anybody to subtract with, and you go, oh, 1.8, what's it going to tell you it is? you're going to say it's an ionic bond. But is nickel by itself an ionic bond? No. What did we learn a metal by itself is? Metallic. Okay? A metal does not work with this scale. You have to be able to keep that straight.
What are you subtracting the electronegativity from?
The other electronegativities. So, for example, let's say, that's just something there. Let's say we do, I don't know, I probably had CO2 on that other list. No, I don't. All right, let's use CO2. All right, so let's say we have CO2. Let me change my color so it's a little darker there. All right, CO2. All right, so I even picked one that had a subscript. So look up carbon's electronegativity. 2.5. So you look up 2.5. Find carbon on the electronegativity sheet, dear. Okay, Faith, you got to keep out the table that I just gave you. All right, did you find carbon?
We didn't tell us it had that on. I thought that was like the masses and all.
No. That's the electronegativity. Subtract. What is oxygen's electronegativity? All right, and remember, positive difference, so it's like it's at absolute values. All right, you get 1.0. Now, where does 1.0 sit on the scale? All right, so it sits here. So that tells us that this is a polar covalent bond. For the moment, it's just covalent because you guys don't know what polar means. We're going to talk about that in a second. But that was a covalent bond. You would have predicted covalent bonds. Okay? Everybody okay with how to do that? Yes? Now, if you look at the sheet that I just gave you a second ago, all right, since some of us put it away, make sure you still have it out. All right, we said that who had the largest electronegativity yesterday when we did the trend day before? Fluorine, right? Fluorine was a 4.0. All right, as you go across, they got what? And as they went down, they did what? They decreased. Who didn't have one?
Helium, argon.
All right, so if you look at the chart, is that what it shows? All right, so if you look at the remainder of the noble gases, a few of you keep asking me this. All right, you can see the trend for the noble gases. As they go across, they do get bigger. Okay, so you can see that krypton, xenon, and radon are listed there. And as you go across the periods, what happens to their electronegativity? Do they drop off or do they have one? Look at the chart. I've given it to you. It's in front of you. So look at the noble gases for krypton, xenon, and radon.
Is it 3?
What are you talking about?
It's just 2 gases.
Krypton, xenon, and radon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right. Do they continue to get bigger as you go across the period? Yes. Okay. That's all I was asking.
I was right.
Okay. Now, for helium, neon, and argon, yes, there are 2 dashes there because they don't have one.
How do they not have one?
Now, they don't have one because they've never formed a bond. Electronegativity measures how strong you are controlling the electrons in a bond. If you've never formed a bond, can we measure how strong you are pulling on those electrons? No, that's why they don't have one.
Well, they need to hurry up and put plans.
Well, they haven't gotten to form one. And the other 3 have only formed a bond with
They
fluorine.
need to get on the floor.
Red bond.
So why does LR not have one either?
LR, some of them are radioactive, and if they have a half-life that is so small, they might not have been able to measure their electronegativity. That would be my guess, because it's in the road that's radioactive. Okay? No.
It's good.
Not at all. Anybody else have a question?
We should try and make those 3 react.
No.
I bet.
All right. So, what does it mean to be polar?
We might die.
Polar covalent means that you do not share your electrons equally. All right? It's a bond where the electrons are not shared equally. Yeah, some fool texted me.
Is it your husband?
No, it was not. No, I wouldn't call my husband a fool. Some days I would, but not most
Is it
days.
your kids?
No.
Well, you need to get off the phone if that's the case. That's not a
It's
family
not
emergency.
immediate family.
Right. They don't count. Girl, this is like a hospital.
Oh, man, it's nuts.
Girl, we know.
All right, everybody got it? So if we have, let's say, the example I used the other day would work good. So I probably use this one, H and Cl, right? So H had how many electrons in the outer shell?
1.
Okay? And Cl has how many electrons in the outer shell?
7.
So we know that H wants to do what with its electrons?
Get rid of it.
That's right, it wants to lose. And Cl wants to do what?
Yeah.
So do you think that these two are going to share equally if H is going here, take my electron, and Cl is going here, let me have it?
No.
No. H is going to push it away. Chlorine's trying to take it, so they are not going to share equally. Now, the opposite of polar covalent is non-polar covalent. This would be a bond where the electrons are shared equally. So, chlorine and chlorine would share equally. All right, so how many electrons does chlorine have in its outer shell? And the other chlorine would have how many? So this is sort of like being cloned. All right, Sarah Lynn's been cloned. All right, she's got to go to basic training this summer, so she's going to get to do lots of things with rope, I bet. All right, so she's in a tug of war with herself. Which Sarah Lynn is stronger, Sarah Lynn 1 or Sarah Lynn 2?
Both of them.
Both of them are equal. We don't know which Sarah Lynn is stronger than the other. If they've been cloned, theoretically, they're identical, right? All the DNA is the same. They should be identical. So each of these are going to pull with the same amount of force. Okay? You okay over there?
But let somebody need to clone her. She break herself.
I'm serious. Pretty tiny be that. It's pretty sad to be that tiny in the desk, have all that extra space to injure yourself. All right? Fat people like me should injure themselves in the desk, can't even get in it and get turned around.
Oh my
All
God.
right? Now,
Well, you really did that. So.
just being honest. So, you got 2 electrons that are being shared equally. So, what types of things are generally speaking going to be the most nonpolar covalent things we've learned about? What are other examples like Cl2?
Oh,
What are examples of Cl2 and O2?
what's it called? The gases that can be by themselves.
What are they called?
The atomic said.
Yeah. The 7 diatomics are going to be nonpolar covalent.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Okay? So, everybody remembers what they are still, right? No, there could be others, but those are the ones that are the easiest to recognize.
They have the same oxidation
If
number.
not the same oxidation number
Same
there,
ionic number.
the same, what's that number called that we just handed out?
Ionization.
Electricity.
Electronegativity.
Oh, she got it.
All right, so if you go back to what, and I'm going to put him in here, down here at the bottom. If you go back to that same list, just go up in your notes because you've already done it. Find out if there are any that we predicted wrong.
Yes.
There should be something. Okay, so use your numbers. You need to do the numbers. You need to have the numbers when you subtract written down. We're going to do something with those.
Well, this is a lot.
Just tell me. Yeah, you're going to want the numbers. You're going to have to rank these in order of increasing ionic or covalent character in a minute.
Now I know about all that.
It'll be on the quiz tomorrow.
Now
Just telling you.
I don't think I'm gonna be here tomorrow.
Then you'll have to make it up. You know the rules.
Sadly.
You feeling a sick day coming on?
Yeah, chew. No, I just have to skip the first 3 so I can write an essay I haven't read yet. Yeah.
That's so sad.
I've had it for like 3 months, but
And you haven't gotten around to it?
I haven't even read the sources.
What are you talking about?
You missing the test tomorrow?
Girl, no, I'm coming for 4.
What if you have a subscript?
And you haven't started that?
You don't use the subscript.
We use?
And we
You
have.
don't. You use the numbers for the
I
element.
think Amara's probably like the only one.
Pretty sure.
Where's Steven?
I got started on it.
I wrote one sentence.
I got,
And I have the
I got
heading.
3 words.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, Nadia. Oh, no, stretching.
Okay.
I need to calculate.
I'll get one.
I need to calculate.
She said, these are decimals.
Just.
I should have known y'all would want to calculate.
I didn't like summer in summer.
I'm gonna say choice.
You know I'm right.
No, I haven't. What I think. What's this? No, it actually
What?
department store recently. No, it's not. I mean, messed up. Maybe he might have something else, right? Yeah. Okay.
You should have been laughing at her.
No. Way back.
Miss Mom, what are you doing?
Alright, we got some numbers? What?
She asked you a question.
Me?
Yeah.
Little human possible.
What? You say you're doing what, Miss Wall?
As little as humanly possible.
Miss Wall, you know you better go to the beach or something.
So you're not letting Miss Thornhill who does like actually likes to like go outside and like be a little productive, or, like
Nah.
swim.
I'm a slug in the summer.
Oh, God.
Oh, I thought she was going to say something else. I was like, wait a minute.
No, I spend 10 minutes with this cornhole in summer. She makes me tired.
I bet.
Yeah.
Be in the garden, 7 a.m. Then swim practice, 9 a.m.
If I wake up at 7 a.m., I still don't get out of bed until about 10.
A girl, me too. I don't get out of bed. What are you talking about? Well, I'm going to have to. Let's see.
Alright, so what did we get for the first one?
Yeah.
Point what?
2.9.
I
Minus
was going to say, I thought it was point 9.
I haven't seen the answer.
So it would be, that's not point 9.
Yes, it is.
I just wanted the difference. Oh, okay.
We told you that.
Okay. 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 2.1. I got what you're going about. I got you. All right. So what's the difference on this one? Okay.
Something to tell you about?
1.9.
She's not much of it. Yeah, that's what I.
Let me get a different color for that one. It's not going to show up very well. All right. So there's a couple of them.
So why don't you just zoom in and scroll? Hey, there we go. Well, Caleb got a seat in the back.
Here we go. All right. So this one we had right. This one we had right. What about this one?
No.
No, this one we had pegged as what? Now, if they only give you a periodic table, you will tell them it's ionic. But if they give you the electronegativity numbers, they're going to expect you to subtract and know that that is not an ionic bond. It would be a polar covalent bond. Same thing here. You would predict 2 nonmetals. You would say it's covalent. But if they give you the electronegativity numbers, we would be able to better determine that that's an ionic bond. This one we had right. How many of you had this one? Figured out it was 0 on your own.
I didn't get it, so.
Okay. How do you get 0? All right. We don't write this.
I thought you said
Right.
you don't have to.
Minus
Oh.
We don't write ClCl, which is what the bond is. It's a ClCl bond. We write it as Cl2. But the way we calculate the electronegativity difference is based on ClCl. So we look up 3.0 minus 3.0, which is 0. So that's how we determine that it's nonpolar covalent. Okay? Now, the bottom one, which is Mn, what did we say about Mn a while ago? It's metallic, and you can't use the what? Can't use the electronegativity charge. All right, so the last thing we're doing with this, rank in order of increasing ionic character, which is why I told you had to have the numbers. All right, so if we look at our scale from 4 to 0, all right, where on this scale is the most ionic character?
4.9.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can.
Right.
So, if the most ionic character is at 4, we just need to go towards 4. Okay? We just need to go towards the 4. So, the first thing I would say is, who's not going to be on the scale at all because it's not on the electronegativity scale for us. Okay. Do not include metallic. Okay? They don't get included. What? All right, we're not going to include the metals at all. Now, since we're going towards the most ionic character, which is 4, we're starting at what number? We're going to start at 0, and we're going to work towards 4. So, which element is closest to 0, or which compound really? So, Cl2. Who's next? Next. 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 And next. Okay. So this was least ionic. And this was most ionic.
Is it gonna ask us to do that tomorrow?
I will either do that or covalent character, which is what I'm going to talk about next.
Oh.
All this is on a quiz.
Yep. We're not done yet. Still got more to go.
I didn't write that.
Not time yet, though.
Oh, it's 11, 12.
11.
Oh, you shouldn't even say time. Not that being for 8.
Y'all crack me up. Y'all gotta look at your phone to tell the time, and there's a clock hanging in the room. I need to just take that down.
Some people just want to do this.
Well, I got a call. Can I answer her?
No.
I
You really want to answer a call. You don't know who it is
It
in the
says
middle of
336
class.
number though. It looks so familiar.
No. Unless you tell me it's mom, no.
I don't know who it is.
Then the answer is no.
Then just say it's mom.
No.
Say it's wrong, and then you have to let you go. I'm not gonna lie. It's okay.
Oh,
If
you're
it's
right.
important, they'll leave a voicemail.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now,
Those are my
I thought we
voicemails.
were friends. They don't even have a voicemail. I think they should have said, you know, I can
now, if I ask you to put it in order for most covalent characters, what would you have to do there if I worded this way on the quiz bar?
Which is the most covalent? You go for.
You go from where to where?
0.31.
You go from 4 to 0. You'd start at 4, and you'd go towards 0. Okay? You'd start at most ionic, and you'd go towards most covalent. Okay? So if I had said do it this way, you would go from the bigger number to the smaller number. Would we be okay with that?
Yeah.
It depends on how I word the question. Okay, most ionic, you go towards 4. Most covalent, you go towards 0. Okay? Everybody okay with telling the type of bond? All right. So we're going to finish the day. Okay, I'm going back. Sorry, I didn't mean to go too fast. So sorry. Going right back. Okay. Everybody done?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to finish the day by starting our really 2.5 day discussion about covalent bonding. I suspect today we will only get to vocabulary, but we might get further.
I thought we was done with that.
No.
It has to be.
Now, tomorrow we're going to draw Lewis structures. And I would love to say that we're going to start Lewis structures today.
That's a lot. And that's the T.
It's probably the truth. It's probably not going to happen. Because we have 8 vocabulary words to do today.
Oh my God.
I know. And for some odd reason, 6 of them are always part of the state test, which just amazes me.
I'm tired.
All right? So, let's talk about a molecule. Small. All right. What's a molecule?
A small at the smallest part of life.
No.
That's an atom.
Okay, it was close enough.
Adams. Yeah.
That was great.
We gotta do 8
Now,
I'm gonna be 8.
to be a molecule,
Right, we didn't.
you have to be covalently bonded. Now, when I use that definition now, you guys should know what I'm talking about.
Oh, like the little thing that we just did. That thing.
So when I say
Do we have to look at the electronegativity to these?
you can, but you don't have to.
Why would I say? It's not water. It's just I really like water.
Oh my.
All right?
Oh, that is too many.
You should be able to tell me which of those are molecules. All right. Y'all all just want part of the quiz part.
I didn't say anything.
There you go.
Right, me neither.
Girl, right? Yeah, like I was
Okay.
saying, like.
Are you sitting at school next week?
Not Monday, I have a department chair meeting.
Everything's okay.
I think.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Alright, we start to make those.
I got
How do we know? Subscripts have nothing to do with it.
Dang it, Justin. It's still 5.
Yeah,
So what?
Yeah.
We use a chat.
Yeah.
It's just we're gonna
Okay. Hallie has answered the question correctly.
Okay.
All right, say it loud enough they can hear you.
asking covalently, so it's just 2 elements.
Yes. The key is the fact that I said what?
Wow.
Has to be covalently bonded. So who cannot be a molecule up here?
NIO.
Why?
Because they have metals.
Correct.
Wait, I have a question.
Yep.
So like, when you told us to determine the bond type,
Yep.
HF was, we said that was covalent, but it was actually ionic. How would you know with these?
Generally speaking, I'm not out to trip you up, but you can always subtract the electronegativities if you want to double check behind me. Okay?
So we can't always assume,
You can't.
so we always have to check.
Now, for the most part, Raquel, unless I ask you specifically what is the bond type, and I've given you two that are a metal, non-metal, you can probably assume that they're not going to be something that's going to be tricky. Okay? Questions about how to tell if it's a molecule? All right, next. All right. All right, what's a diatomic molecule?
The two of the same. An atom of the two of the same molecules. A molecule of two of the same atoms.
Take that same definition and alter it.
Ionic more atoms.
You got to take out two words.
More atoms.
Two atoms of the same molecule.
I said take out two words. I didn't say add more. All right, Cecilia has it right. I heard some more people who probably had it right too, but she's just closest.
Okay, sis, we don't care.
Okay, just take out the or more. Two atoms covalently bonded. It's the additional things y'all wanted to add that make it wrong. Okay, you just want two atoms covalently bonded.
That's the case when a couple things be diatomic. I think I might know this. Wait, so this molecule.
Throwing me off.
Yeah.
So can molecules be diatomic molecules also?
Yes. All right. So which of those are diatomic molecules? What? All right. I got Cl2. I figured that would be an easy one. What's the first thing you should do?
CO.
The first thing I do is decide if they're a what? I decide if they're a molecule. What is the definition for being a molecule? Two or more atoms. Are you two or more atoms that are covalently bonded? If you're not covalently bonded, you can't be a diatomic molecule. Okay? Just because you have two doesn't make you a diatomic molecule. Molecules have to be covalently bonded. Who should we automatically strike from the list because you're not covalent? NaCl and Ki are automatically gone. They're both diatomics. Okay? Is everybody with me on that?
Yes.
They're both diatomics. But they're automatically out because they're not what? They're not covalent. Everybody got that? All right. So now, say what? They both have two elements.
It's like a different.
One Na, one Cl. Add them together, there's two. Okay?
It's
Now.
like a different definition of diatomic.
Diatomic just means two.
Right, because I was thinking of like.
Of the ones that we learned.
Yeah, I thought diatomic was that they couldn't be alone.
Those are just two elements that never exist by themselves. All right, so now from there, who has strictly two atoms?
CO and HCl.
Okay, 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. That one has 2. This one has how many?
3.
That's why it's not. Okay, questions?
No.
Feel okay about that? Okay. No?
Just keep going as well. It's okay.
Okay, bud.
Well, I don't feel like everybody knows.
If we have a place on it, that's not right. We do it in a bill, we do it.
We can honestly.
Miss Laura, you got a Band-Aid?
Not for you.
You have injured yourself again sitting in a chair.
Oh, wait, no, you said.
Oh my God. I'm burned off my ear.
Let's,
I got one.
hold on.
I don't know which one.
We need to move on out of that seat.
I'm telling you. Let's do this first.
Miss Laura, I already wrote it down.
I'm coming back to it. Let me see if I can get a Band-Aid from the one who can't see a fabulous. It's like before she injures herself again in the chair. Alright, so tomorrow when we draw Lewis structures, there's 3 kinds of covalent bonds we're going to draw. Alright, you may have done this in another science class. This may not be brand new. Alright, we're going to draw single bonds, double bonds, and triple bonds. We will start easy and start with our single bonds, and then we'll move to double and triple bonds. Okay? Double and triple. Double and triple are the hardest to draw, but we'll do them together and learn them at the same time, so it makes it a little easier. Now, a single bond is a bond where a pair of electrons is shared. Now, if we say a pair is shared, how many is a pair? 2. Okay. So, what does that make a double bond?
4. A double pair.
Okay. 2 pair are shared. And of course, a triple bond would be 3 pair are shared. So that'll be 4 electrons and 6 electrons. Now we can go back to length. It'll make more sense tomorrow.
I don't think it'll make one sense.
But we're gonna have this on our quiz tomorrow.
Nope. Your quiz stopped at the end of diatomic molecules.
So like the little line.
When we stopped at the types of examples and we got done with identifying examples of diatomic molecules, that's the quiz will end.
How many questions?
This goes with Lewis structures.
We're ready to go to science.
How many questions? Right, they said that.
It's number counting, so it's only actually 3, but there's always ABC.
Yeah, it should be doing. Okay.
She just sat there.
And then.
All right, throw that away.
She told us this.
She's not right.
Why would you just tell us now?
We went to Vocab, yeah, we just did teacher. And I did the first quiz and I was done.
It's long.
Yep. I just asked if Faith was caught up, and she wasn't writing, and now I'm waiting on you. I can't keep up. I checked to make sure you weren't writing and you were caught up, and I was good. And now ladies just disqualified.
I had to, get myself right.
I can't figure out who I'm supposed to check on.
I am dead.
All right.
Fine.
So, bond length is the average distance between 2 bonded atoms.
This is why you have eaten these pea pods.
Well, I've only eaten about half of them, half before periods to eat the other.
You need to put them back in that bag.
Well, if I finish them, then I won't have to share for a period. Because they'll be gone.
Maybe you
All right.
should eat them for the sake of God.
For the sake of who? Why? God wants some of them too.
No, he wants you to throw them away.
God can tell when we throw my pea pods away. Now,
God said in this case you can lose.
God said in this case, put the peas in a pot.
you are sort of harsh about my pea pods now. Now, so the average distance between two bonded atoms. Why do I say the average distance? All right. So if I have a carbon bonded to another carbon, why can't I measure the distance between the nucleus of this carbon and the nucleus of that carbon?
Too small.
No. The problem is that they are in constant motion. Okay? So if they're in constant motion, let's just say my hands are the two nuclei, and they're constantly moving. Can I measure the distance between this nuclei and this nuclei if they're always moving? No. So they measure the distances over time, and then they do what with the distances? They average. Okay? So before we talk about that, there are 3 types of motion. Everything comes in threes. There's no one and done. Because there's not.
It's like kids.
Well, my mom said. Ew.
The first kind is called translational motion. Okay? When you guys leave class and go to third period, you will translate. When you move from point A to point B and you walk out of here, you're translating. Some of you might have the ability to have rotational motion. Perhaps you took gymnastics, or you're just able to flip end over end. Even when I was skinny, I never had that ability. I was always afraid I'd land on my head. And based on the fact I fell off a sidewalk and broke my wrist, spent 4 months in physical therapy, it was probably a good thing I never tried it. All right? And the last type is vibrational motion. Okay? So, all atoms do these things. Okay? Now, if you're a solid, you only vibrate. But if you're a liquid or a gas, you do all 3 types of motion. And we'll talk more about that when we study solids, liquids, and gases. Now, but because atoms have these motions, we can't just measure a definitive length, so we have to average. So, when we think about our single, double, and triple bond, which one do you think has the longest bond? The longest bond is the triple bond. So, who would have the shortest bond? What'd I say?
You said triple.
Oh, sorry, single. I thought somebody said single.
Nobody said single.
No, we were. You said,
So single.
I swore in my head that somebody said the single bond, and I was like, yay, y'all got it right.
That was you.
Well, you know, schizophrenia is real.
Y'all really said triple?
Yeah, you said triple was the We said triple, you said yes, triple.
It's that foolish man that was in your phone.
I swore in my head y'all said single. I believe you. No, if y'all said it, I believe you. Okay, well, pretend that I didn't say that. And I'll pretend that y'all said single, and I'm still excited that y'all got it right. All right, so y'all said single, and I'm excited that y'all got it right the first time. All right, so the single bond is the longest bond. And I'm glad y'all got it right. All right, so who then will be the shortest bond? Very good.
You got it right that time, right?
Uh-huh. Okay. So,
It's the peapods.
you must be scrambling my brains.
We're playing in a fight, we've been all right.
I need to cut them back to half every day.
You got like 10 left. You need to hurry up 5 minutes stretch. Thanks, crumbs.
I'm gonna let you live with your little pies. Well,
All right, so the last vocabulary word we have to do is bond energy. And then we'll talk homework.
Oh.
Homework is short tonight.
I have a
I'm already
lazy and math homework.
Apparently, Nakaya can't do my homework and can't come to class because she's got to do English homework.
I know, right?
so
It'd be like-
And then I put off for 3 months.
Hey, that's how.
But it's AP. I'm barely passing.
Why you still get a 90? Why you still get like a 90?
I don't know why on earth you put homework off for 3 months.
Maybe I have a strong.
No, she just gave us
seven
the sources for it last week, so there.
So therefore we couldn't really do it.
Yeah.
Oh, well then it's not 3 months worth of homework. It's only a week's worth of homework.
Okay, still.
What is the whole essay?
We are heavy procrastinators.
I see.
Everybody.
And it's a certain type
Are
of.
you really?
Maybe.
I'm sorry, I got 3 words.
I thought it said
That's some good stuff there, Nadia. I'm not sure I'd say you got 3 words if it's only your name.
What's 3? You know what I meant.
Yeah, I know. You got no words if all you got
I
your
got
name.
the first, like the subtitle.
All right. So bond energy is the energy needed to break a bond. So if we again think about our 3 types of bonds, which one do you think will be the strongest of the bonds?
The single.
Well, at least we got all 3 that time. And I heard all 3, and I didn't yell the wrong answer in the middle of it. All right. Good job, Miss Wall.
No, right, because girl, I would have prescribed you some antipsychotics.
I might need them. Might need to cut back on them peepods.
It's the people.
All right.
It's the sodium as well.
I want you to think about breaking a stick or breaking a pencil. Which would be easier to break? The longest pencil or the shortest pencil? The longest is always easier to break. So the easiest to break is the weakest. Okay? Something that's short is hard to break because it's stronger. Okay? And if you don't believe me, take a pencil, break it in half, and then get the little short pieces and try to snap them in half. Okay? You can't. It's much harder to break a little short, stubby pencil. Okay? So the shorter the bond, the stronger it is. The longer the bond, the weaker it is.
Well, you have to look that way.
So what?
She swears she's gonna be great. But don't act like so.
You're still pretty long for breakage. Okay. Say what?
You base it off of kids, so like, you know how like little kids can like run to a table and just get up and but adults, if they run to a table, they're out of the couch.
That's why I tell you guys, keep your stuff picked up. If I fall down these days, I'm fragile. I'm very breakable.
But no, like,
I used to fall down and just pop back up. Now, it does not work that way, baby. Alright. So your homework tonight goes with the quiz tomorrow and types of bombs. Depends on how long it takes you to get it left. Did I say about 4:30? Whatever there. Yeah, I got these number mark wipes that Miss Curry gave us. They don't think you bring the pencil off, and I probably take peanut butter off.
she only gives me 2.
Well, you didn't give me one?
What?
You don't want one anyway.
I'll give it to you, but you already told me you weren't doing it.
That's okay, because why you wasting the paper already?
Here you go.
I know how to put it in the recycle.
No, I just